Every April 30th, your feed fills up with the same image. Frosted tips, a knowing smirk, and the caption, "It's gonna be May." And every year, millions of people laugh and then move on. But I'm not millions of people. I'm a linguist, and I can't move on because the more I look at this meme, the more I realize that Justin Timberlake wasn't just singing funny. He was the accidental product of a collision between the Southern American vowel shift, the sonic demands of black R&B, and a Swedish man named Max Martin who treated English vowels like acoustic engineering problems to be solved because he decided that the English language was standing in the way of a good melody. So today, we're going deep on a meme. But if you've ever seen my channel before, you already know that. It's why you're here. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Taylor Jones. I've got a PhD in linguistics from the University of Pennsylvania. And on the channel, I discuss everything related to language, linguistics, language learning, and culture. If you're into those topics, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Let's go. Okay, let's start with the actual linguistics because it's genuinely interesting and, come on, that's what the channel is all about. In, it's going to be me. The final word is spelled M-E. It should end with the vowel E, the high front tense vowel. That means the body of your tongue is high in your mouth, closer to your palate, and closer to the front of the mouth. It's the vowel in C, free, B, at least in my accent. Your tongue is up, your lips are spread. It's what vocal coaches might call a tight, bright sound. What Justin produces is somewhere closer to A, the diphthong in may, say, pay, at least in my accent. The tongue starts mid, the jaw is more open, and the vowel moves. It glides from A up towards I. That's a diphthong from Greek di, meaning two, and phthong, meaning sound. Linguists talk about this as splitting the vowel nucleus because it sounds sciencey. So we've got a nucleus reversal. A high front monophthongy kind of thing gets lowered and diphthongized. It's actually not even completely accurate because outside of singing, it's not even a monophthong in American English. It's really just a movement of the nucleus of the vowel. And that's not random variation. Instead, it's a systematic phonological shift, and once you see it, you hear it everywhere, especially in late 90s pop. It's something that crops up again and again in the history of languages. And shifts like it are the reason English spelling doesn't line up with English pronunciation. We had the Great English Vowel Shift. Whatever your politics, I'm sure we can all agree on MEVGA, make English vowels great again, by reversing the not-so-great vowel shift. Spoilers, I very naively thought that one of the two most likely natural instances of this shift was the reason for It's Gotta Be May and Oh Baby Baby, and I was wrong. But when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And when you have a degree in variationist sociolinguistics, everything looks like a naturally occurring chain shift in a vowel space. So when Britney Spears says baby, what's that second syllable? Oh, baby, baby. It's extended, lowered, diphthongized into something closer to bay. Christina Aguilera in Genie in a Bottle. Listen to the way that she handles final vowels. Baby, baby, baby. They're not landing where standard American English would put them. By the way, if you want to know more about how language works and how sound changes happen naturally, I'm launching a self-paced digital course later this year I'm calling the Language Blueprint. It covers all the major subfields of linguistics, but in more depth than a YouTube video and more fun than a classroom. For updates and more information, head to www.languagejones.com/blueprint. So this Timberlake, Spears, Aguilera thing is what I'm calling the late 90s pop accent. And it has three causes, and they all converge. But weirdly, the two that I thought were the most important were the least important. And the most important was actually a foreign conspiracy to use your brain against you to generate fabulous, unbelievable wealth. And at the bottom of this dark conspiracy, as always, was a group Benjamin Franklin once wrote about as a swarthy race who should not be suffered to swarm our settlements. I'm, of course, talking about Swedish music producers. Let's start with Justin, JT. Justin Timberlake is from Memphis, Tennessee. Britney Spears is from Kentwood, Louisiana. Both grew up in the American South. And in the American South, vowels do things. Vowels do things. The Southern Vowel Shift, sometimes called the Southern Vowel Rotation, is one of the most documented ongoing sound changes in American English. And one of its signature features is what happens to the front vowels. Specifically, high front vowels have a habit of swapping places. In Southern American English, feel can surface as something closer to fill. Fail can sound like feel. The vowel space rotates. That's how you get what the hell.
What the hell?
Now, if Justin's baseline vowel space is already positioning E a bit lower and more central, which the Southern Vowel Shift does, then diphthongizing it further towards A is not a huge leap. Some of you might hear his casual speech as basically doing that already.
It's gonna be me.
He's not starting from the General American E and traveling all the way to A. He's starting closer to the target. The Southern Vowel Shift effectively gave him a running start. But here's the thing. This doesn't explain everything, because some of the artists singing in this accent didn't grow up in the South at all. Pink is from Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Christina Aguilera is from Staten Island and then suburban Pennsylvania. Neither of them has any particular claim to Southern vowel patterns. And yet, listen to their late 90s and early 2000s output, same vowel modifications, same stretched diphthongs, same general vibe. So what's going on? This is a classic case of what sociolinguists might call dialect leveling through prestige contact. Anthropologists might call it accommodation. Black folks on Twitter call it colonization, a fake black scent, and being a culture vulture. Whatever you call it, the prestige dialect isn't standard American English here. It's R&B. And R&B in this era, and every era, was shaped enormously by Black American English phonology and by Black producers.
You know that new sound you looking for?
Think about the sonic world these artists were entering. L.A. Reid, Babyface, Teddy Riley, Peabo Bryson, and they're drawing on Luther Vandross and Anita Baker. If you don't know who these people are, by the way, you are not alone. Most are what the internet calls Black famous. Fun aside, Black people and white people have an entirely different catalog of favorite Earth, Wind & Fire songs, despite both loving Earth, Wind & Fire. Anyway, these producers defined the sound of commercial pop in the early 90s, and part of that sound was vowel quality, the particular kind of soulful resonance that comes from certain vowel positions. In some regional varieties of African American English, certain front vowels are realized differently than in General American. Not necessarily identically to the Southern Vowel Shift, but overlapping in key ways. When white pop artists and their labels wanted to capture that sonic register, the vowels came with it. You can't separate the sound of R&B authenticity from its phonetics. The vowel shift became a marker. Don't believe me? Try imagining Earth, Wind & Fire's Love's Holiday with a bluegrass accent. R&B doesn't have to be black, but at a minimum, it's got to be in the Hall & Oates and Bobby Caldwell side of things. Linguists call this covert prestige, the social value of a non-standard feature, and then it spreads across the genre through imitation and production. So we've got two forces pushing in the same direction: Southern phonology from below and African American English phonological prestige from above. But we're still missing something, because neither of those explains why the shift is so consistent, so precise, so obviously engineered sounding across the whole genre. And in fact, Justin Timberlake is on record saying that's not why he said it's got to be May. And it's probably not why Britney Spears says crazy. For that, we need to go to Stockholm. In the mid to late 90s, a studio in Stockholm called Chiron quietly became the most influential pop production house on the planet. So quietly, I don't even know how to pronounce their name. Denny's Pop, Max Martin, a group of Swedish producers who had no particular reason to be shaping or shaped by the English language and who therefore felt completely free to break it. Here's Max Martin's core philosophy, and I want you to hold on to this. The sonority of a word matters more than its semantics. In other words, the way a word sounds acoustically as a physical waveform is more important than what it means. This is what he calls, at least part of what he calls, melodic math. Don't fit the melody to the words, you fit the words to the melody. He didn't invent it. Keeping with Earth, Wind & Fire, that's where you get that body. And here's where it gets really interesting for us as linguists. The vowel E, the vowel in me, is acoustically what we call a high front tense vowel. We've mentioned that. The tongue is bunched up high and forward. The mouth is relatively closed. The resonant frequency is high and narrow. In a pop mix, especially the compressed, saturated pop mixes of the late 90s, E doesn't sit very well. It's bright but thin. It doesn't cut through in the 2 to 4 kilohertz range the way more open vowels do. Now look at A. The tongue is lower, the jaw is more open, the vocal tract is longer. That openness creates more resonance in exactly the frequency ranges where a lead vocal needs to project. May is acoustically bigger than me. It fills the mix better. Max Martin and his collaborators were effectively doing formant analysis by ear, adjusting vowel quality not for linguistic reasons, but for acoustic ones for the music. And because they were Swedish, because English was not their first language, they didn't have the intuitive resistance that a native English speaker might have.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny? Specifically to Max Martin, the parts of their English that were broken actually made them catchier songwriters.
A native speaker might feel that it's going to be May is wrong. To Max Martin, May just sounded better, and that was the end of the conversation.
I sang, "It's gonna be May," and he was like, no. And he was like, "It's May."
He would literally tell singers, this vowel, not that one. Hold this sound, not that sound.
They would put words away that almost didn't make sense, but when you sang them, they were more memorable.
And the singers, trained to execute a vision, executed. So let's put this all together, because this is the good part. You have Justin Timberlake, a kid from Memphis whose native phonology already tilts towards a vowel rotation, who grew up listening to and performing with black artists and absorbed those phonological prestige markers as well, who wanted professionally to be taken seriously as an R&B artist, not just a boy band kid. And you put him in a room with Max Martin, a Swedish producer who has decided through pure acoustic reasoning that A is superior to E in this melodic context, and who has no cultural attachment whatsoever to preserving standard American English. Justin's phonological starting point aligns with what Max Martin's melodic math demands. It's going to be May isn't a mistake. It's not sloppy singing. It's not silly. It's the inevitable outcome of a Southern speaker with R&B prestige influence being directed by a Swedish producer with no loyalty to English phonology to hit a vowel that, for acoustic reasons, should be more open. It is a high production value linguistic accident. Three independent forces, geography, social prestige, and acoustic engineering, all pushing towards the same phoneme. The meme is funny because it sounds like a mistake, but linguistically, it's kind of perfect. And the real Stockholm Syndrome element here is when you find that over and over and over again, the people who have heard the demos, the version of the song before the pop singer sings them, they attest that the singers copy Martin and other songwriters, not just note for note, but vowel for vowel. Evidently, Martin was sometimes referred to as a Svengali. Somebody leave me a comment explaining how it always comes back to casual anti-Semitism. Like, who's just casually dropping references to a Jewish stereotype from a novel from the 1800s? Anyway, point being, it was both conscious and unconscious. It was pervasive, and it was weirdly not really Southern English or Black English, but English in the style of Prisen Kolinensen Uso. Hope I said that right.
Prisen Kolinensen Uso.
So this late 90s pop accent didn't disappear, it evolved. What Max Martin and the Chiron crew created became the template for what some music journalists are now calling international pop English, a dialect that belongs to no country, optimized not for natural language acquisition or anything, but for melodic transmission. You can hear it in how modern pop handles vowels. Ariana Grande's deliberate, hyper-articulated vowel choices. The way Halsey and other artists in the cursive singing tradition treat consonants as negotiable and vowels as load-bearing melodic structures. Billie Eilish arguably doing the opposite, compressing and some people say swallowing vowels. These are not the technical terms, as an aesthetic reaction against that tradition.
What do you want from me? Why don't you run from me?
Pop phonology is a living system. It has dialects, it has prestige forms and stigmatized forms. It has its own version of sound change. And it's shaped by geography, race, economics, and apparently Swedish producers who just want the mix to sound good. Good.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder why you're.
The next time the meme comes around, and it will come around, I want you to hear it differently. It's not going to be May because Justin got it wrong. It's going to be May because Memphis, Stockholm, and decades of R&B phonological prestige all agreed on the same vowel. I'm Dr. Taylor Jones. This is Language Jones. Drop your questions in the comments, and don't forget to sign up for updates on the course. And I'll see you in the next one. Happy learning.